Coming up, we'll tell you about a Madison County school bus that slipped off Highway 1295 and into an embankment.
The snowstorm arriving in the northeast is already causing some cancellations and delays here at Bluegrass Airport.
Well, that first batch of snow is now moving on out, going to wreak havoc across the eastern seaboard. But now we have to watch another little clipper that's going to be flying through later on tonight. I'll go over the timing on this and how much we can expect coming up.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at Noon.
Good afternoon from WKYT News. I'm Bill Bryant.
And I'm Barbara Bailey. Thanks for joining us. Most of the wintry weather we saw this morning is starting to move out, but we're not finished with snow showers just yet.
WKYT meteorologist Micah Harris tracking what is headed our way as the day goes along, and he's live at our First Alert Weather Center. Micah?
Well, just about a week ago, we couldn't find this snow. Now we can't get rid of it. I mean, we look outside and get that first batch of snow still over there in the eastern zones. Now, this is putting down some light accumulations across the way, especially those higher elevations. So if you're traveling in that direction, yeah, heads up. You're going to be running into this very shortly. Pikeville, you're going to be socked in for at least another hour, at least. But I think it falls apart here in the next couple of hours. But as of right now, temperatures are there in the mid-20s. They're not budging that much. You got to get a little sunshine. I don't know if we'll actually see it, but if we do get some peaks, it'll put us right there around 30 degrees as we hit the afternoon. All in all, it's going to be a very cold day. Cloudy skies. Goes off into the evening, and it's pretty calm, but it's cold, 28 degrees. Now, it's off into the night. You start to see another clipper roll through. That'll give us more light snow to talk about. I'll show you where that really falls coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, see you then. Thank you.
Well, the slick roads led to a frightening situation this morning in Madison County.
A school bus slid right off of the road on Highway 1295. That's between Richmond and Lancaster, and it left the bus and the students on board stuck on an embankment. WKYT's Mike Linden shows us what it took to get the bus removed in our top story at noon. Mike?
Right around 7:45 this morning, a Madison County school bus on the way to school slipped off of Highway 1295 and into an embankment. Officers say the bus driver felt the traction of the bus tires giving way over a slick spot along the road when he lost control of the bus. The bus then slid off the road into an embankment, hitting a wire fence on the right side of the bus, all while keeping the bus upright. Officers say no children nor the driver were hurt during the accident, and all of the kids made it to school on time.
As far as this situation for us, it couldn't have been any better. A school bus loaded with kids, it could have been really, really bad for us and all those involved.
Officers tell me that the driver of the school bus was fairly new to driving school buses, and following the accident was taken to the hospital to check for injuries, as well as to take a drug screening to determine whether or not he was under the influence of drugs or alcohol. In Madison County, Mike Linden, WKYT.
Mike, thank you. And we spoke with the Madison County Schools spokeswoman this morning, and Aaron Stewart tells us that they made the decision to go to school today because the roads appeared to be fine early this morning, but then a drop in temperature created that black ice, which is what caused the bus to slide off the road.
Now, the roads were also slick in Lexington this morning. An SUV went off a Russell Cave Road near Ironworks Pike and overturned. Firefighters had to cut open the vehicle to rescue the driver. Russell Cave Road was shut down for a while this morning while emergency responders cleaned up the wreckage. It's back open now. Officers want to remind drivers, though, when the roads are slick, slow down and provide plenty of stopping distance between your vehicle and others on the road. Well, a massive snowstorm is barreling towards the northeast.
Much of the area can expect up to 2 feet of snow. Some parts could get 3 feet. Marley Hall reports from New York City.
A light snow is falling in the northeast, but the real storm is on its way.
This storm is going to rapidly intensify as it passes south and east of Nantucket tomorrow. So snowfall rates pick up to 2 to 4 inches per hour.
The storm passed through central Ohio overnight, stranding cars on the roads. In New York, more than 100,000 pounds of salt are on standby. A blizzard warning was issued from New Jersey to Maine. The nor'easter is expected to dump 2 feet or more of snow. Wind gusts could reach over 50 miles per hour. On Sunday, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio warned people to take the storm seriously.
Don't underestimate this storm. assume conditions will be unsafe.
Weather experts say this could be the biggest snowfall in New York City's history. The current record here is 26.9 inches, set back in February of 2006.
I'm just going to go hole up in my apartment.
I think this one's going to hit us hard, but only a few days, so maybe it's not going to be so bad.
Airlines have already canceled more than 4,000 flights, and more cancellations are expected. Marley Hall, CBS News, New York.
Now, some of those flight delays are spilling over into Lexington. A handful of flights leaving and coming into Bluegrass Airport are now canceled. WKYT's Hillary Thornton spoke with passengers who are keeping a close eye on their flight plans.
Travelers headed to the Northeast whose flights are still on schedule are hoping they will get off the ground here in Lexington in time to arrive before what is being called a potentially historic winter storm. Bluegrass Airport canceled 3 flights and delayed 1 on Monday morning. 2 departures, 1 to Philadelphia and 1 to New York, were both canceled. An incoming flight from Philly was also canceled, while an arrival from Chicago was delayed.
Basically just watching the news, watching my texts, checking in at home.
Travelers like Joan Leemner, who is scheduled to get home to Providence at 4 this afternoon, are aware of the potential travel headache, but are hopeful they are getting ahead of the snow.
I'm supposedly going to be okay. I arrive at 4 and everything hits tonight bad. So it was snowing a little bit this morning when I talked to my husband at home. So
you're getting in just
4 o'clock. Yeah, I should get in right. Perfect timing.
Airport officials say dealing with snow is always unpredictable, but obviously there is the potential for more cancellations and delays as that snow arrives in the Northeast. In Lexington, Hillary Thornton, WKYT.
And we'll keep everybody informed on air and online. It is not just roads that are slick today. Sidewalks and driveways proving to be treacherous for a lot of people. The Lexington Fire Department says that this morning they got 6 calls for people who had slipped and fallen on the ice. 3 of those people had to be transported to the hospital. Lexington firefighters told us the proper way to brace yourself for a fall.
If you're able to do it, you know, it's good to try to fall with several points of contact, you know, in other words, twist to the side so that you can land on your knee and then your hip and then your shoulder and try to keep all that impact from being transferred to your hand.
Of course, the best course of action, Best says, is to just avoid taking the risk of falling. For instance, tap the ice with your foot, use handrails, and walk in the grass instead of on the sidewalk if you can. Remember now, you can help us track the snow from your own backyard. Send us your eyewitness pictures using the hashtag WKYTRulesWinter. And don't forget, you can find the latest closings, delays, and updated weather information always on WKYT.com.
After months of waiting for an answer, a former Kentucky lawmaker turned convicted killer now knows he won't be getting a new trial. Judge Pamela Goodwine issued the ruling this morning denying Steve Nunn's appeal. WKYT's Sean Moody is live now at the WKYT News Desk with more on how this will impact Nunn's case. Sean?
Hey there, Barb. Steve Nunn pleaded guilty to the murder of Amanda Ross back in June of 2011. More than 2 years later, he filed a motion to vacate his life sentence, saying his attorney didn't tell him about the effect his guilty plea could have on the civil suit against him. He also claimed his attorney had been acting under a conflict of interest. Today, a Fayette County judge decided neither of those arguments has merit. Nunn claimed his attorney, Warren Scoville, didn't adequately or correctly advise him about the consequences of his guilty plea. According to court papers, he believed a civil suit against him would be dropped if he pleaded guilty. He also claimed Scoville was acting under a conflict of interest because Scoville's firm was at one point a party to that civil suit. Fayette County Circuit Judge Pamela Goodwine decided that Nunn pleaded guilty because he wanted to spare the people involved the emotional toll that a trial would take. She said he, quote, gambled that neither he nor his daughters would have to pay any damages as a result of the suit, but she said that was dependent on the actions of a third party and not his own attorney. As for the claims of the conflict of interest, the judge decided that there was none, in part because discussions about a guilty plea came after Scoville's firm was dropped from the lawsuit. Now, the judge's office said this was the last step in Nunn's attempt to withdraw the guilty plea, but he could appeal the decision. At the live desk, Sean Moody, WKYT.
Thank you, Sean. And Nunn was sentenced to life without the possibility of parole.
There is no word this midday on the condition of a young boy who was seriously injured in what police are now calling a DUI crash. Jason Combs was driving on Kentucky 550 in Perry County when state police say he crashed head-on into a car. That driver was not seriously hurt, but her 9-year-old son was. At last check, the boy was in critical condition at Kentucky Children's Hospital, but officials have not provided us with an update. Combs is charged with DUI, but state police now say given the boy's serious injuries, more charges could be filed. The FBI says a Kentucky man is one of 2 people involved in a Missouri kidnapping. A St. Louis TV station says that Robert Caldwell and another man kidnapped a 67-year-old man and forced him to drive around withdrawing cash from ATMs. The victim eventually escaped. His car, however, turned up in Bardstown here in Kentucky over the weekend. It was badly damaged in a crash, and police received a tip that Caldwell was in his hometown of Danville over the weekend. They now say they have reason to believe he could be in Lexington. Anyone with information is asked to contact the FBI.